Going live. I'm starting to go here. Starting.
In a few minutes. They have another few people.
Gafne,
Chaim, well. That's it.
Nice to see you, Rabbi Gafne. So great to see you.
In a long time.
I've been gone for 4 months.
Yeah, I think, yeah. No, Mark.
Yeah. But I feel like I never left Tzfat. Tzfat.
Right.
It's always inside me.
Yeah. For Hashem. So then, Shaiv Archon for Tzfat Ha'Brach.
Amen. Yavata.
I told him about the Farbrengen. He wanted to come in. He didn't want to wait for me. I remember the first Farbrengen I ever was at. I was in Tsfat for 3 days. And they woke everybody up at 2 o'clock in the morning because they were broadcasting from Elul. Well, the live hookup. They woke everybody up at 2 o'clock in the morning. And they asked everybody to pay for the phone call. That was the only issue in those days that had air conditioning.
And I said,
Zingen, heb je dan niet. Chaim, Chaim. So, Chaim and a good Yom to everybody. And now I'd like to suggest to you that what would you do if somebody came up to you and said to you that you have to go out of your kelim? You have to get out of your kelim altogether. Yitzias kol kelim. So the question is, what would you do? And how would you react? But I want to suggest to you that the whole inyan of Chayelu is to get out of your kelim. And in the nusach of our Rebbe, the nusach of the Rebbe Melech Mashiach, and in the way that the Rebbe approached it, I heard it mafurish from the Rebbe. What the Rebbe brought down the famous Rogatchover. There's a word from the Rogatchover going, where he said that the Talmud Yerushalmi says that Kol Mishaloi Nivne Hamigdash B'Yomo Ki'ilu Nechrav B'Yomo. So how do you call him? Rogatchover was medactic. Mele, he didn't cause the Beis to be built, but he didn't cause it to be necho. So how does the Yerushalmi say, if it wasn't built in your days, it's like as if you destroyed the Beis Hamikdash? He said, L'chora, he did. So the Rogatchover said that the Beis Hamikdash, the destroying of the Beis Hamikdash, is a pu'ula nimshechet, and they call it a ongoing thing. And it's not something that happened once and it doesn't happen anymore, but it's like the whole time a continuous action that the Beis Hamikdash is nechara. Kommt euch that if you didn't build the Beis Hamikdash, then in your days it's being re-destroyed, the whole time. The Rebbe looked at everybody, and the Rebbe said, just imagine if you were in the Beis Hamikdash, how it was, Tsfat, on the day that it was And you were there when the Goyim, Yamach Shimon, they were married the Beis Hamikdash, and you were there. What would you have done? So the Rebbe shouted in a loud voice, and the Rebbe said, "You was to Tzedek Welt. You would have turned the world upside down. You would have done everything you could to prevent that happening." Yeah. So the Rebbe said, according to the Rogachover, that's happening right now. Izim Kain, the Rebbe said, Oy Bazoi. The Rebbe said, and it is Kertavelt yet. Yeah, if so, you should be draining a world over upside down altogether, turning the whole world, yeah, upside down. Shalom Aleichem. You should be turning the whole world upside down. Because the Beis Hamikdash is right in front of you. It's being nechra, you follow? So that's pretty heavy going. But I was there when the Rebbe said it, yeah. And the Rebbe said, "We bazoi, you care about yet? You turn the world over upside down." So that means going out of your kelim, yeah. So yeah, Chaim. So ask yourself the question, what does that mean? So it means that each and every one of us, got to care of health. We've got to get out of our occasion. Because we see that, it's just so many times Hashem comes along and he pushes us in the eyes. Yeah? And he said, okay, you guys are not really working for Mashiach. And nobody's particularly, excited about it. So what do you get? Yeah. You get a situation that's exactly that way. Not particularly exciting. It doesn't sort of really seem to lead anywhere. And if we just see this most amazing example of what happened the last couple of days, this whole crazy thing with this absolutely sugar spiel that they called the Bachiras. Well, the whole thing was everybody knew what would happen. Kulam yadu. Yeah. And so what have you got? You've got a situation where they're just going to do what they like, and they're going to put the datim aside, and the whole thing's just going to be a balagam, a terrible balagam. Because nobody of these guys, and the present Rosh Mepshala, Vashona, he doesn't care, basically. He's a chiloni. Yeah, he doesn't care. The main thing is he wants to put together a government. So he doesn't care who he goes with. Oh, Mela, what's going to happen? It's not a good pudding. It's not a good pudding. So that's the sort of thing that we eat. That's the pudding we get dished out if we don't go for Moshiach. You follow? If we just sort of play it easy and we just say, oh, it's a bit over this, a bit overstated, don't get out of your kelim. Oh, that's exactly what the Rebbe said. You got to get out of your kelim, And the Rebbe, when he finished saying that to everybody, the Rebbe lifted up his hand like that, and he went 3 times into the air. Ad Matai, the Rebbe said Ad Matai. When he finished saying that statement, Ad Matai, and it was mind-boggling. If you would have been there, you would have been like me. You would never be able to quite get over it. It was just absolutely mind-shattering. Admatai. So we see that if you don't feel the admatai, you don't get caught and everything. So what you get is no admatai, but you're not getting anywhere. It's a huge Musa Haskell to the whole Jewish people. And this whole bunch of opportunists, they're quite happy one with the other, there's no yamin, there's no small. It's just whoever will have the opportunity in the better way. There's Arabs and there's other, I call holy. That's what we get if we cook it, Mr. Moshiach. We have to what the Rebbe The Rebbe wanted those kochen machine. And that's the end from going out of your kelim. So if somebody comes up to you, if somebody comes up to you and he says, listen here, you have to get out of your kelim, then he knows what he's talking about. He is exactly right. So that's sort of the question. Yeah, what does it mean to get out of your kelim? What's the upshot? Okay, sit down, guys. Chaim, so for all those, so I don't know what's worth all the effort. Anyway, all those who came in just now were talking about going out of your kelim in light of the matzah and cooking and building the base of Mikdash. That's the way. He's the center of attention, so everybody's watching. Oh, Mela. What does it mean to go out of your kelim? What's the upshot? So everybody, according to his inyan, the Alter Rebbe brings in Likutei Torah many times that the whole Aveda is v'chol miyadecha, but he says from with a personal chol, v'chol miyadecha, your bligvul, you're going out. He said, really, you're bligvul, you're going out. Yeah, there got to be somebody who's be'emes lamita, holds by bligvul, but that's, yeah, you're in a limit compared to him. Other than to get to you, that is your ma'id. Yeah, that's your ma'id. The whole me'ayder, you're going out of your kelim. Yeah. What it means is that the whole difficulty is that we are victims of circumstances. We give in very easy to circumstances. Most of there's a shia. Oh yeah, I can't go to the shia because of a plane. On the vibe mine on the Drake Miracle, but I'm not able to leave the house. We have to know that if your whole point of home you will get to the shia. You'll find a way, and you'll make a way that it'll work out. If you got to go to a simba, so the Bala Simba will wait for you another half an hour. And whenever you come there, we're very happy to see you. But you got to be part of the Kedusha, when Binyan Beis HaMikdash. It's a kol echad v'echad, he's in here. Putting another stone into the base of Mikdash is different than the person, the other guy. If a male, his Indian is one Indian, the other person's Indian is something else altogether. So what I want to introduce to you this evening is that that's the whole Indian of Chayel. The whole Indian of Chayel is Yetzia legamrei man. And in order to get the point that I'm trying to get across, I'm going to tell you a couple of stories. And that is that we're coming now from Tsfat, Elul, well, that's the Yom Ashiastas Tom Hitmim, the Rebbe Rashab in Tsfat Elul, Corporation of Time. Yeah, he founded on that day. So it's well known that Tomchei Tzemach wasn't an ordinary yeshiva, and I'm soon going to indicate what was not so ordinary about it. Early in the piece, the Rebbe Rashab appointed one of the mashpiyim, and he was more like a mashpiyah, proti on the Bocharim, and he used to look after the Bocharim very, very capably, and he was already an alter, he was a Zochen up here, and he was called Reb Michal der Alter. They called him Reb Michal der Alter. His family name was Berliner, Reb Michal Berliner, but he was called Reb Michal der Alter. And after he'd been in that position a few years, the people said to the Rebbe Rashab at a meeting about the yeshiva that he's already getting old. He's called Michal der Alter, and he's already getting old. That maybe we should put him out on pension or something, and bring a new mashpiyah koimai. So the Rebbe Rashab said, no, that's not the right move. He said, even if Michal is an alter, he said, over mir is kidai, if the Bocharim see him, just the fact that the Bocharim see him, that's already a big inyan. And I happen to know that in Lud, in the old days when I first arrived, also I'm not going to mention any name, there was a certain person that he was already old, and they were thinking he was in the Zohar, the Shiva Tana, that they were thinking already of putting him off. They reported that to the Rebbe in a letter, and the Rebbe wrote back a letter, and the Rebbe said, no, you must not sack him, because it's just kidai, even if he doesn't say anything to anybody. Just the fact that the Bocharim every day see him, that's already a good zazah. You follow? That's already an education. So, the Rebbe said about this Michal altar, the Michal der Alter. So one Friday afternoon, Rebbe Michal der Alter walks into the binyan of yeshivas, Tomchei Tzemach, and there was a new bocha that had been accepted after a lot of. They didn't accept easy in those days. There was a whole sort of consideration on the part of the Rebbe Rashab and the Rebbe Ayat, until finally it was decided about a bocha. So this bocha was he was relatively new, he'd just been taken in. So Rebbe Michal der Alter comes into the kitchen area, and he sees that this bocha is sort of, it's already close to Chatzos Hayom on Erev Shabbos, and this bocha is sort of walking around, looking for something. So Rebbe Michal der Alter says to him, Bocharo, he says, what are you looking for? What's this to do, in Yiddish? What's this to do? So he said, it's a minute by Yidden that puts the shiur on Friday. You brush your shoes, with shoe polish. So he said, I can't find any shoe polish anywhere. I'm looking all over, and I can't find any shoe polish. I want to put my shiur. You follow? So Michal the Alter smiled. He said, oh, that's nice. Yeah. He said, I'm sorry, you're not going to find any shoe polish. There's no shoe polish around here, So the guy looked very, very hurtfully surprised. He said, no shoe polish. And so Rebbe Michal the Alter said, no shoe polish. He said, and Dev Yeshiva puts me nicht kashiach. He said, me puts the kop mit the neshama. He said, in this yeshiva, we don't polish shoes. We polish heads and soul. We polish kop and we polish the soul. Yeah. So I answered the question, what does it mean to polish your kop and to polish your soul? What's all that about? So the other story I want to tell you is a more sort of on a much higher hierarchy level. That's about the Rebbe Rashab himself. That's one on when he founded the yeshiva. It was during the Shiva Brothers of the Frierdiker Rebbe, and the Rebbe Rashab said that he had been thinking for years to found this yeshiva. And for all sorts of reasons, he never bought it maskona. You know, he sort of, he thought about it many, many years, he considered it. But there's in the Sefer, Hamamorim, Tofresh Nun Zion, at the back, there's a footnote from the Rebbe Melech Moshiach, a footnote. And the Rebbe writes over there that he heard in one of his private conversations with his father-in-law, with the Rebbe Yatz, that the Rebbe Rashab thought about Tzemach for many years, possibly even 10, long time. He thought about it, and then one day, not long before his chasana, the Frierdiker Rebbe had a meeting with his father, and he says, Tati, you know, why don't we make a yeshiva here in Lubavitch? We have to make a yeshiva, Bapoyo. We have to do it. He said, by the Tzemach Tzedek, there was a yeshiva. But apart from that, there was no yeshiva official in Lubavitch. Only by the Alter Rebbe, there were what was called chadorim. There were groups of people that they used to learn under the Hadrocha, great mashpiyim. They used to learn chassidus. Of a yeshiva, mamish wasn't in Lubavitch. Only in the time of the Tzemach Tzedek there was a yeshiva then. Yeah, but it wasn't like in Tzemach Beklam. So the Frierdiker Rebbe says to the Rebbe Rashab that he thinks we should make a yeshiva. So the Rebbe Rashab got up and he walked out and he left for about a long time, about an hour and a half. And he went out to the Tzion of the Rebbe Marash and the Rebbe Tzemach Tzedek. There in Lubavitch, they are buried in the Chater of Lubavitch. The Rebbe Marash and the Rebbe Tzemach Tzedek. The Mittler Rebbe is in Yezhin, and the Alter Rebbe is in Hodit. Yeah? In Lubavitch, it's the Rebbe Marash and the Rebbe Tzemach Tzedek. So the Rebbe went out and he prayed on the grave of he was there for a long time, on the grave of, what do you call it, the Rebbe Marash and the Rebbe Tzemach Tzedek. He came back afterwards, and he met up with the Frierdiker Rebbe, and he said, we have to daven mincha. But he said, before we daven mincha, I just want to inform you that, he said, Nishkavla Hatzoah. He said, the Hatzoah has been received, Lamaisa, and Beis Hashem, we're gonna found the yeshiva, Papoya. And that's what happened during the Shiva Brothers. Yeah, that's what happened. The Rebbe founded the yeshiva Papoya. So what happened was that on the day that they actually announced, the Rebbe Rashab announced the whole founding of the yeshiva, which was Tsfat Elul, Tofresh Nun Zion. Ja, ich war überall noch 2000. Aber Mela, the Rebbe announced the founding of the yeshiva. So what happened was the Rebbe called in a meeting of Rabboni Anash, you know, the people who were like more in the Rabbonish side, and then several of the Soharim amongst Anash. But they were going to be the people that would be approached to support the yeshiva financially. So the Rebbe called all these people together, and he told them like this, that he said that he has thought for many years to found the yeshiva, and what is the whole purpose of this yeshiva? So he said it's not just purely for learning Torah. He said, because yeshivas where they learn Torah, he said there's plenty. There's a lot of yeshivas, even in Russia at that time, there were a lot of yeshivas. And he said, Beklon, in dem Gegend, meaning in the area where Lubavitch was in those days, there was a lot of Frumme Yidden, and they used to learn Torah, yeah, in the schools. So the Rebbe said there's a lot of Torah around. So he's not making the yeshiva in order to learn Torah, yeah. What then? In Cain, what's he making the yeshiva for? He said the whole inner of the yeshiva is laho'iyah oil, to give forth light. That's the whole inner of the yeshiva, laho'iyah oil. And then he repeated that again during the portion that he said to the people. And then he used the expression lizrek harbe or, how do you say? To throw a lot of light. And then he added, at another point, the Rebbe added that those who would learn in the yeshiva, their tafkid would be nereis lahoya. They would be expected, and we would hope of them, that they be nerot lahayya, yeah? Which means also, yeah, the purpose of a ner is to give off light. If a man, you have to be a ner lahoya. So ask of the Shaila, what did he mean by that, Rebbe Rashab? What is the concept of not tafkid Torah, but had it good oil, yeah, and to throw a lot of light, and lahoia is oilon. Because later on in Tofrei Summit Base, there was the famous Sikha of the Rebbe to the Talmidim in Tofrei Tzemach, and he said that their Indian is to be Chayalei based over it. Their whole Indian is to be the soldiers that's going to bring to Gilui HaMashiach. That's what he writes over there. What he says. Bariyas the Rebbe Rasham, and came along the Rebbe Melech HaMashiach, and he said that Chayalei Beis David is Rosh Hashanah Chabad. And even though the Rebbe Rashab at that time didn't say that, he didn't, in the Sikha of the Rebbe Rashab, that's no matter. But nonetheless, that happens to be the case. So the Rebbe said that what the Rebbe Rashab implied with that was Chayalei based over it is a new step in Chabad. It's a new move that benoisa to all that there is in Chabad. It's now the conquering army to bring about the end of Mashiach Bapoyo. Chayalei based over it. That's the whole Indian. So ourselves, the Shaila, what do you do? What sort of oyer are we talking about here? It's obviously not just our oyer, which is connected with Limud Torah in the normal way, but it's some other sort of oyer, some sort of special altogether light. And ourselves the question, what is that? What Mazah? So and that'll get us back to this whole idea of what Rabbi Paul the Elder said, puts in the coat, puts in
Polish.
the neshama, to polish, So we'll get some music of what he was talking about also. And then there's another general and basic question that Chai Elul, our Rebbeim tell us that Chai Elul is the day where you get a Chayas in Elul. And you have to have a special Chayas and a Chayas in Anila Doidi, all sorts of inyonim. So I solved the question, where have you been up to now? It's supposed to be, Elul has been already 17 days beforehand. Elul is supposed to get involved in Anila Doidi and in the Tshuva and Batala Gutta Zachen that Elul implies. Where have you been up to now? Elamai, the whole Inyan of Chai Elul obviously means a whole new start, a whole new Inyan altogether, a whole new way of approaching the whole Inyan of Elul. So the thing is like this: what it all boils down to is that l'chayla what does it mean that there was Torah and everything? But the Rebbe said when he's founding the yeshiva, he doesn't necessarily mean just the Indian of Torah, but he means Lahoya Oya. The Pasuk tells us, there's a Pasuk in Mishlei which says, Ki ner mitzvah, but Torah Oya. As Torah is anyway the infant Oya. It was, what are we talking about? So the Indian is like this. The Eino Hanami, Torah, it gives off light. Of a Torah, purely the way it's given, is in which is connected, albeit with a light that goes through Seder Yishtosheles, and it goes through all the Olamas, and it's got to do with Kiyum or Elam and Seder Shebo Elam. In other words, that the Ika Inim and Torah Kamoishu Hu Yod Olamata is the Inim and Kiyum or Elam, Lafi Inim Ha'Elam Kamoishu Hu. And even though there's a certain koyach in Torah, to govern the teva and everything, but there's a certain reference, a certain shaykhs to the infant teva. Yeah, that's the whole basic idea of what Torah and Yiddishkeit are about, that you got to have a Seder Masuda based on Torah. Everything's got to be built and based. It's a kiyum to the whole inner of the Olam outside I use the Torah. That's the best possible way. So I want to suggest here that the whole inner of the Alter Rebbe and the whole inner of the Baal Shem Tov, for that matter, and the whole inner of the Chabadske, the Clown, the Chabadske, yeah, and the whole inner of the Rebbe with the inner of Moshiach is another idea altogether. And therefore, if we look in Likutei Torah and we study carefully, we meet up with a figure that occurs in almost all the Maimorim, or I'll put in every small group of Maimorim. This person is mentioned, and also the sort of tshuva or the sort of life that he represents. And this person's name is Rabbi Elazar ben Dordayo. Shalom Aleichem. You guys are good. At the end of Rabbi Elazar ben Dordayo, what everybody heard about him, and the word Dordayo in Aramaic means, how do you call it, the silt or the mud or the not good things that settle to the bottom. Yeah, the mess and the mud that goes to the bottom. If you got a mixture that's not so good, that what settles to the bottom and needs to be got rid of, well, that's called Dordayo. So this guy, he's Rabbi Elazar ben Dordayo. He's oh yeah, hello. That should remain another quarter of an hour now. We're talking about going out of the kingdom. It's not a quarter of an hour. What's can say? Yeah. So what's with this Rabbi Elazar ben Dordayo guy? What's with him? What's the piss line with him? What's the whole story? You know. So the Indian is a Zay. Rabbi Elazar ben Dordayo, Yishai. Well, I toss it to Bechut. No, אתה רוצה לנהל שיחה, תעשה את זה בחוץ. אבל מילא, we need to understand what's with him, because the Alter Rebbe mentions him a tremendous amount. He mentions him in Tanya also, at the end of Farbrengen, Gimel, Mandala, yeah, the Alter Rebbe mentions him, and he hints at him in Perek Zion. He doesn't actually mention his name, but he hints at him. So this Elazar ben Dordayo, he was a big Balavera. He was a Gavaldik Balavera, and he was Mefursan as a Baltaiva, Matchim, Netztan. And he was he was very heavily involved in Oisa HaTaiva, what's called Taiva Snoshim. He was very into that. And he used to travel wherever there was, one of these not moral women, and she was asking for a huge amount of money. He would pay, and he would be the first, customer. Yeah. So the Gemara tells the story that he heard about some place, and he got together a huge sum of money, and he was out there. So when it comes to Lepoyo, she sees that he was enough of a year to have a chitta, he had a telescope on. So when it came to that, she sees this telescope, so she picks up the side of the telescope. She gives him a flip in the face with the chitta. She gives him a flip with the tzitzit. So all of a sudden he gets this flip in the eyes, from tzitzit, and he sort of, he said, my high, and she said, listen, she said, these represent something different altogether, You are right off, you've had it, in your heavenly court, you finished, nobody's gonna reckon with you anymore. So he heard that, he sort of took that very seriously, and he saw this is like a Ryan in a shaman, and she gives him a flip, in the eyes with the tzitzit. You're supposed to put the tzitzit on your eyes, So what did he do? He ran out into the field, and he went up onto the mountains. And he said, mountains, you guys have to be Malamed Rachamim on me, because I've heard that in the heavenly court they don't want me, so you have to be Malamed Zchut. So the mountains said to him, are you normal? We got enough on our own head. And they brought up, it brings up so pussy that the mountains are all concerned that they can't do anymore. The mountains have got enough on their head. They got time to worry about him. So then he tried the valleys. He tried all over in the Yonei HaTeva that they should be Mavakish, Rachamim for him. And they all said they're too busy. It's your problem. You got to get yourself out of it. So what did he do? He put his head down between his legs, and he began to weep. And he wept. And the way we learn the Gemara, some will learn slightly differently. But the way we learn the Gemara, he died. He just passed out altogether. That's it. And he never came back to life. But there's some people who learn that he did. But anyway, most of the Drushim of the Alter Rebbe don't go that way. The Alter Rebbe learns in passages that he passed away. Mele asked the question, how did he get into Gan Eden? If you're going to get into Gan Eden, you got to have Levushim. How do you go? You have to have Levushim from all the Torah and all the mitzvahs that you've learned. And with those Levushim, you're able to go into Gan Eden. He didn't have any Levushim. So how's he going to get into Gan Eden? So you know what it's fought down? It fought down with Shema Arizal, a very amazing thing. That there was a big Kohen Gadol that he was called Yochanan Kohen Gadol. The Gemara Masechta Yoma tells us about him. And he served for, how long was it? He served for 90 years. How many years? Shmonim Shona, He served Shmonim Shona, and at the end he became a tzadduki. I don't know, amazing. In the end he ended up being what do you call it? I don't know how you say it, tzadduki. That's an apikoros, or something not good at tzadduki. They were a whole bunch. They didn't admit in Torah Shabbat Peh. They were in the Torah Shabbat. So the answer was, oh, Mela, he became a Tzaduki. And you know what the world learns shut in that? You know what the world said? This is not the shut in the Gemara, but this is what the world said. And why did he have such a Yerida? Because he became a Tzaduki. What does a Tzaduki mean? A Tzaduki is from the word Tzedek. And he was always right. He must always be right. You follow? He always had to come out right. And he always said about himself that what he says is right. He never heard a word of criticism, or he never admitted that maybe he could be a bit better. And that's why he became a Tzaduki. Yeah, that was always it. Anyway, I asked the question. Before all that, so it's written we're going to have to bury him. So they made a levaya in order to bury him. And Rabbeinu HaKodesh was alive still at that point. Rabbi Yehuda Nossi was still alive. And Rabbi Yehuda Nossi came to the levaya, and he said, he inquired Rabbi Yehuda Nossi, what had happened here? And so they told him, and Rabbi Yehuda Nossi said, you have to give him a name, Rebbe. You have to call him Rebbe Elazar ben Dodaya. Yeah. And he wasn't a Rebbe. He was a Goyzer, by the way. You have to call him Rebbe Elazar ben Dodaya. Yeah, because of what happened. Because he did tshuva, you know? He becomes Rebbe Elazar ben Dodaya, and Rebbe asking about him that he has to go into Gan Eden. So the question is, how did he get into Gan Eden? He didn't have anything there. So you know what they did? The Arizal says it. They took all the Levushim from the 80 years of Yochanan Kohen Gadol, and they put them onto him, and so he got into Gan Eden. Very, very balabati. He had 80 years of Levushim. So what do we learn from that? That you got to be careful about how you play the game. Because Chutz v'Sholem, you could lose all your levushim. And they might be given to somebody else. I mean, that's a sobering thought. But anyway, the Kach said, and he's Rebbe Elazar ben Dodaya. Now, what happened to him was that he wept so terribly that he just passed out altogether. The Alter Rebbe, his mom is very, very, very much in favor of this guy. And he mentions him the whole time. And the Alter Rebbe said, because he's indicatory of the avodah of a Baal Tshuva. A emes of Baal Tshuva has to be that way. And the Alter Rebbe says that a Baal Tshuva is not necessarily somebody who did Averas like him. That's what's up. No, a Baal Tshuva is somebody that he never did any Averas in his whole life. But nonetheless, he's got to become a Baal Tshuva. Shalom Aleichem. How does he become a Baal Tshuva? Yeah, he goes out of his Kalim. He goes out of his Kalim. He doesn't reckon with anything. You follow? He just gave away everything. Finished. Ended. Oh, Mela, what's the whole internet? A rise from the Kalim. So came along the Alter Rebbe, and the Alter Rebbe used to beat his head against the wall. You guys don't know what used to go on. The Alter Rebbe used to stand, and according to what's Mashnov and the Rebbe that some Tzedek, he used to say it every day. He used to bang his head against the wall, and he used to say, I don't want your Gan Eden. Talking to the Eberster. He said, I don't want your Gan Eden. He said, I don't want your Olam Haba. He said, I only want you yourself. Man is just Dichalei. You follow? Do you realize what that is? Olam Haba is Adlaneta. And the Alter Rebbe said he doesn't want it. Ibamela, what does he here want? He wants only Tichalein, Atzmas, Ein Sof, yeah, and he's prepared to forego all in on him, you know. Once, yeah, you cheer me, okay, Lim. And he said, the Nakuda Matem Rebbe Loza ben Dodaya, that his moment of going out and giving him whole self away and throwing his whole soul only on the Avesta, oh, that's the Nakuda. That's the Etzeminian of the Chabadska. That's the real Chabad story. The real Chabad story, and if you look it up in Likutei Torah, almost every second month, we learn how Likutei Torah on Shabbos and where I live. I have a shiur every Shabbos in the morning. Does anybody attend that? No, nobody yet. If I could bear witness that we've met up with this Indian of Bali Tshuva and Rebbe Loza ben Dudaya in about, I don't know how many miles, what we're like, because the whole Likutei Torah is full of it. Because that's the whole Indian. The concept Indian is that you've got to get out of your kelim. And the Alter Rebbe writes in last week's Sedra, and he says clearly over there, he writes that B'tshuva Kazu Tolui Bias HaMoshiach. That's what he writes clearly. Zeh Tolui B'zeh. He said, in order that we should come to Bias HaMoshiach, we have to all get into this tshuva. That's what he writes. And he said, that's what our sages say, that B'li tshuva, lo yeh ha'geula, they mean that. They don't mean that there'll be Bali Averas with the tshuva. Well, they mean that. That's what the Alter Rebbe said. That's what he writes. Avamela wanted to check. You guys. That's one. You don't realize. You know the story with Loza the Kruma. You know the Miser with Loza the Kruma. I already told you Miser. So I see everybody's, nobody's answering one way or the other, so I just have to assume I don't know, but there's a Miser about somebody called Loza the Kruma. That once there was a Shadar, I had he called a collector from the Alter Rebbe, came to Eretz Yisrael collecting money, you know. But he was a Siddur you know, he was a dugma at the Alter Rebbe Siddur. So he gave over a whole shmur to a group of the Siddim or people, Elachiyim here in Eretz Yisrael. He gave over the whole thing, what the Alter Rebbe talks about and how it's, you know, Bali Tshuva, and you have to go out of your kelim with the whole thing. So there was a guy there that he had a limp. He had a slightly crooked leg. And he, what did he do? He just got up and he went down to Yafo and he took the next ship going to Europe, and he ended up in Russia. And he walked into the Alter Rebbe's Beis HaMedrash, and he just sat down and he started, and he started learning the Siddur, and in the end he became Yaro Mamish. You know, had he called Bechele Yatira, had he called, he became Oisav in the Kalim altogether. And they called him a Loza the Kruma, you know, he had a crooked, slightly crooked leg, you know, so he's called Loza the Kruma. So in the end, there comes a very indignant letter plus evidence, everything from Eretz Yisrael, that he left a wife and 2 children behind in Eretz Yisrael. He left them behind in Eretz Yisrael. So the Rabbonim in Eretz Yisrael said, what's going to be with the vibes on them, you know, the children and the wife and everybody. So they came over to Loza the Krum and they said, what's going to be? So he said, that's a problem. He said, he agrees that's a problem. But, you know, he's not in the mood right at the moment to be doing anything about it. So they go in, they tell the Alter Rebbe, you know, everything's going on. So the Alter Rebbe calls him in And the Alter Rebbe says, sorry, it doesn't, Eza Seder Bo'elam Hazeh. Very clear? So he said, Rebbe, I'm prepared to send a get, through a shliach, and they'll all be kosher and everything, but I'm not leaving you. I'm staying with you. This is it. I've found my place in life, and I'm just, I'm prepared, like you say, Shua v'cheli yater. I want to bring down Moshiach into the world. And the Alter Rebbe straight up. And the Alter said, okay, it's a deal. We'll send a get. You follow? The Alter Rebbe agreed that they send a get. And so what happened? They sent a get, and he was a Bahari, lots of the crew. Yeah. So you know what happened? You heard about Rabbi Yom Kletzker. The Alter Rebbe had a famous chassid called Rabbi Benjamin Kletzker. Benjamin Kletzker, he took this lozer to Kruma as his son-in-law. You follow? He had an elder daughter. He had a daughter. Maybe she was divorced him before. I'm not sure. But he needed a shidduch for his daughter, and he says it's lozer. So he said, I'm taking lozer to Kruma. You follow? So he said, in order to take him as a son-in-law, I have to be crazy. But he said, I want to do it. I said, I'm ready, I'm ready to be crazy. And he became, so you know the story with Benjamin Kletzker. You know the story. And he once had a whole business deal. He used to deal with the logs coming down. And he had a whole business deal with a guy. And the guy came in and he had to give him the invoice, So he ran out all the pieces of logs and everything. And the guy said, do it. And then at the bottom it was written, Sachako, in Russian, it was written, and some total. Sachako, some total was Kafaka. So all of a sudden, Benjamin Kletzker, they said, Sachako? What's it talking to Sachako? What's it a Sachako? Ain't nobody, nothing else. Apart from him. So he wrote, instead of the sum of money, he wrote, ain't nobody. You know the story, it's a famous story. Yeah. He wrote on the invoice, ain't nobody. And the Chassidim heard about it because the guy, he didn't want to admit that he didn't know what that meant. He thought that was maybe some sort of a figure written by the Jewish businessman, to indicate a certain sum, So he went and asked another Jewish businessman, what is this all about? So this Jewish businessman says, so he gets together a whole group of Chassidim, and they come in, they want to give pitch. In those days, if you overdid it or you overacted, the Chassidim used to be quite tough. They would give you pitch. Yeah, so they said, this is, overdone thing. You have to get pitch. So Rabbi Yom Kletzker got up on the table, and they took off his belt, and so he said, but this is not Beseda, And they said, well, it's not Beseda, you're acting like who knows, poor old boy, what does he know, you have to get pitch. So Benjamin Kletzker answered them, and the answer. He said, if in the middle of Shemin Esrei, he said, these logs can float down the river in front of me in the middle of Shemin Esrei. So he said, in the middle of dealing with the logs, I'm allowed to think of the Eibishter. Oh, Mela. Come to you, the Benjamin Kletzker was a Menschman. Ain't oid Mobade. He was ain't Mobade. So therefore he took, lots of the Kruma as his son-in-law. He took him. So that's the sort of thing that is to go on, understand? And that was the whole Indian. That was the whole Indian at the Alter Rebbe. Yeah. What is that? That's not the way things were before the Alter. That's not the way Inyanim were. But on the other hand, it's not completely chas v'sholem, hefker. It's not an Inyan where people are just, going around doing, ich weiß, Hepech Binyon Shalom. No, it's Binyon Shalom in a very remarkable and unusual way. Mela, we could suggest that this is a whole new idea. It's a whole new concept of oil. And you know very well the famous title of the Baal Shem Tov. And this is what the Alter Rebbe had Mesilas Nefesh for. This is why he went to prison, because he said this was what the Baal Shem Tov meant. Even though the Baal Shem Tov never actually said these sort of things, but that's what the Alter Rebbe learned that he meant. And so, how does that come together? How does that work? So we say in the Shir of Yom Chamishi, every week we say it, Tiku B'choi Deshoipo B'Kesaleim Chagenu. Yeah, and that's referring to Tkiyas Shoiva on Rosh Hashanah. Tiku B'choi Deshoipo. Yeah, so that doesn't sort of quite get together. The word chodesh is which chodesh? Yeah. So you know what the Baal Shem Tov said, that the word chodesh is from chadash. The word chodesh means chadash. Tiku b'chodesh shoiva. You got to blow a new shoiva altogether. It's not the old shoiva that you had before. You got to blow a new shoiva. Follow? Why? You got to get out on the street and blow a whole new shoiva, something different altogether. And what you've been doing up till now, that's very nice. Well, but we're starting a whole new person. You follow? And so what's the end of blowing a whole new shoiva, a whole new gili of Atzmas? It's a different thing altogether. So that was the Alter Rebbe said, you have to build a whole new Gan Eden now. The way he's made it, you have to build a whole new Gan Eden. Because the sort of Gan Eden that now it doesn't fit anymore, because the Alter Rebbe said he doesn't want it anymore. Oh, yeah. We're going to start a whole new Gan Eden. So it's a whole new story. It's all something different. It's all something new. The oil is a new oil. It's a whole different light. It's a light we don't reckon around. You're not Balbatish anymore. If this word has to be done, Bligvo. I had some of you, Bligvo. Who are you? But nonetheless, that's what we have to. We have to. How's the old expression in Yiddish? Gerois von der Kehilem. Male people say, wait a minute, what sort of talk is this? But that's a Chabadska. Das is Chabad. And that's what the Rebbe said. The Rebbe said we have to have the binyan Beis Hamikdash. And the Rogatchover says that something's happening to it. So what would you normally do? You would go out of your kelim. Yeah? So what does that mean? You just sit around, balabatis, light up another cigar. You sit on your couch or sit in your home